The NBA trade deadline is just a couple hours away, and we are starting to get a couple of trades here. So in today's video, we're going to talk about this Cavs trade with the Hawks, and we're going to start by talking about this trade. And the reason we're starting here is because I had already set everything up and was going to record the video, and as I was about to press record, that other one came through. So we're going to combo them in this. Make sure you subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin for content like this. You're not going to want to miss it going forward. About 80% of viewers on the channel aren't subscribed. So if that's you, make sure you click that button. Also, hit that thumbs up. Starting things off, shout out to Shams for the info here this morning. Shams. Anyway, the Phoenix Suns are trading Nurkic and a 2026 first-round pick to the Hornets for Cody Martin, Vasily Micic, and a 2026 second-round pick, sources tell ESPN. So it appears this is the move that the Suns are going to be making here, and that may be the last thing that they do. They needed to get off of Nurkic. He didn't want to be there anymore. They didn't really want him there anymore. I will say kudos to him. He said all the right things. He handled it excellently. He didn't come out and blast them or anything like that, as far as I saw. They wanted to get off of him. He will turn into a $19 million expiring deal next year. So if you're the Hornets, that's kind of the incentive on this. It's just interesting that they had to pay a first to get off of him, but thankfully for them, they were able to turn that into a second from the Hornets, which, I mean, maybe the variance, assuming that's not a protected pick or something, you may be talking about 14, 15 spots between those picks. So it's not like it's a huge variance, because I'd assume that's going to be an early second round pick that they're obtaining back. But just the sticker shock of saying first round pick, obviously, is kind of crazy. And that will be, again, in 2026. And you know, in terms of the Phoenix Suns piece of this, they're getting back Micic here, and I'm not gonna hold you. He's not like anything crazy. Of course, they didn't really get a ton out of this. What I will say about him is, a longtime international player. He is more of a traditional guard. He is a set up the guys like traditional type guard, but he's an okay shooter. Not really a defensive guy. Not really athletic. He's just more of like a guard that they can use if they need to, and who knows if they wind up turning to him or not. They also are getting Cody Martin in this, right? Cody or wait, which one? I always get them confused. It's Cody, right? Yeah, Cody Martin. So in my opinion, I think the other Martin is better, Caleb. But Cody here, not as good of a shooter as his brother, but more wing depth for them to kind of plug in. And I wanted to see how the team has looked and performed this year with him on the court. It'll probably be a pretty bad negative because, I mean, that's how their entire team is at this point. But I'm curious to see how they were performing. And the best lineup with him, with LaMelo, Seth, him, Miles Bridges, and Nick Richards, it wasn't that bad. Actually, in most of the groupings he was in, he was pretty good for them in most groupings he was in. Ironically, he was not bad for them at all. So if you're Phoenix, you're getting back a guy that you can plug in, another 6'7" wing. You can plug in and get that versatility from him, 3-and-D-ish kind of player that you can kind of plug into your rotation and go from there. But really, I think the bigger piece for Phoenix is that they weren't able to get off of, and he does profile as a solid defender as well. They weren't able to really get off of Beal. They weren't able to pull off the Jimmy trade. And like I said, it appears that this is what they're going to wind up doing going from here. And it is unfortunate because, like I said, they also had to get off of a first. But I don't think it's all that crazy because they get back some players they can probably potentially use this year, most notably Martin here. And they get off that contract. And Nurkic had fallen so far out of favor for them that he was at the end of the rotation behind guys he probably realistically shouldn't be behind. Also, for the Hornets, Nurkic can come here, potentially rehab his value as their starting center because they decided to trade away their two best centers. In fact, I don't know if they have another center on the roster other than Nurkic, but he can come here, eat up some center minutes, and he will not be too good for them where they're going to start winning games or anything like that. So if you're Nurkic, you may welcome that opportunity to get some playing time. Now moving on to the next piece of the trades that we have, where we have, again, the Hawks and Cavs completing a deal for DeAndre Hunter going to going to Cleveland for Caris LeVert. Too many C's there. And Georges Niang, and 3 seconds and 2 swaps. So that is a lot. The Cavs are going to Caris, Niang, 3 seconds and 2 swaps as well. I wonder what the swaps are. I don't know what the Cavs had as assets. Are those first swaps? Are they second swaps? Whatever the case is, I'm not sure. But on this, I think this is really interesting. The first thing that stood out to me with this deal, aside from the production of the players, of course, is the contract situation. So if you're Cleveland, you obtained Hunter, and he's under team control for another couple of years at a reasonable $23-24 million salary, whereas Levert, who's also a couple years older, about 3 years older, I guess. Anyway, Levert, who's about 3 years older, was actually going to be a unrestricted free agent this offseason and has played well and probably was looking to get a raise on that salary. So these are the main two guys as part of this, and they definitely dodged, I don't want to say a bullet. I think he's been good, but who knows what he would have wanted. And then again, the age piece going forward, we would be able to have him under contract for longer for Deandre as somebody that's really started to come into his own over the last couple of seasons as he has entered his prime at 27. He was playing amazing ball for the Hawks this year. Just 29 minutes per game, 19 points per game. And in terms of rebounds and assists, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists. But really what's kind of ticked for him over the last couple of years is he's got that shooting down with the volume up. Up, I guess, but he's got the ability to shoot better, I guess, with more volume is what I'm trying to say. So nearly 7 threes per game and 40% from 3-point depth. So awesome for DeAndre Hunter there. And I think he's really going to be a great piece for the Cavs going forward. Now let's talk a little bit about more Caris here. Excuse me, I can't talk in this video. It's really difficult, apparently. Apparently the English language is difficult. Anyway, Caris has been pretty good this year. I don't know that the Cavs needed specifically to make a move. They were already really good this year, but I do like this, like I was mentioning, for the long term for them. Also because I think DeAndre can now slot in that starting small forward spot, who I think they had been putting Strus there. We're going to pull that up in a little bit, but Caris was only playing about 23 minutes per game, taking about 8 shots per game, 45% from the field, 4 threes per game at 40%. That's decent, especially because he's not taking a lot of shots just in general. But I really did like the creation and playmaking that they got from him. So I do think this puts a lot on Ty Jerome because they're not really getting a playmaker back here. And of course, that's fine. It frees up more on-ball reps for their star guard backcourt. So that is also okay too. And in terms of Niang, bit of a tweener, 6'7" or 6'8" or so, spacing power forward. A little bit slow-footed, but when he's out there, man, in fact, I think he's played all the games for them this year. Yeah, I think he's played every game for them so far at 51, and he's been pretty good for them, at least on the offensive side, and he does do what he can positionally otherwise. So looking at the Cavs' current roster and depth chart, this is kind of what I was talking about. Caris oftentimes was coming in as the backup guard, but Ty Jerome has been really good for them this year. Look at that, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and I think that he may be ready for an increased role on the team. And for Caris, moving elsewhere, going to the Hawks, I haven't really covered it so much from the Hawks piece. I think that could be a good move for them. I actually think the Hawks, in terms of them, I wonder if this is like a cost-cutting move. The Hawks are really good at doing a move to dodge the taxes and stuff. They're really good at doing something like that. Space 2 million. Okay, yeah, I'd assume that this is probably one of the incentives. I don't know if they're looking to keep him going forward in terms of Caris, but if you're the Hawks, they're in a weird spot because I think that they're in a position where they could try to look towards the next couple of years for this team, but they got a lot of guys on the books right now. And I think that they're going to have to make a decision if they're not able to put together a good roster around Trey and maybe, a couple of years here, maybe make a decision on him. But they're trying to build up some of their younger guys they got there, like Risa Shea, Okongwu. Obviously, they're still built around Trey right now. They're just in an interesting spot with Jalen Johnson, too, Dyson Daniels. I think they've got a good core. I just don't know if Caris fits their timeline specifically, but good player. I would be interested to see if he's maybe a buyout candidate. And I do believe we had the salary numbers up. I think he was making about 16 million, which, by the way, if he is a buyout player, that does mean, on the off chance that he is, that does mean that the teams above the apron would not be able to pick up him on the market. So that's something to consider with him too. But altogether, I think it's an interesting trade. What do you guys think about it? I do think that the Cavs are going to get much better from this. I don't know that they needed so much on-ball creation. And in the playoffs, like I said, there's not going to be as much opportunity for all these guys to play the way that they have, because the Cavs, one of their superpowers this year has been their depth. They're playing a lot of their guys 28, 29, 30, 31 minutes. as opposed to 35, 36, 37 minutes or whatever per game. And they've got great production roster-wide, I think. It's been a really, really good roster this year, and the depth has really shown through. But I do have questions about that. But I also really, really like the Hunter piece for them in that starting small forward spot. I like Strus, I like Okoro, but I think Hunter is just a better player between the three. So what do you guys think about the trades? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want to see our coverage from the recent trades, click on the video on your screen right now.